Hey, what's good, LBK? This is Robert Jenkins coming with season 3, episode 121 of the Focus LBK show. The bottom line up front for today's show is that we all should remember that when you see negative, divisive content on TV or on your phone or wherever, remember that the whole point of media of any sort is to get you to take an action. It's to get you to think and feel a certain way so that you eventually act that way, right? So the question that we have to ask ourselves, I think, is if all media is designed to get us to think, feel, and act in a certain way, who is doing the programming and why? These are questions I don't think we ever ask. Well, I think some of the vehicles of the people who program us through TV or who use TV to get us to think, feel, and act in a certain way, the vehicles they use are political parties. All this conflict that they showing on the news and stuff right now, it's all a result of political parties agitating, fighting against each other, trying to get dominance over what? Over you and me.
Get ready for news and views from Lubbock, Texas, USA. What's going on? And real talk with people who move and do things. This is the Focus LBK Show with your host, Robert Jenkins.
You and me. What does it say? Me. Nah. Y'all remember that Outcast, right? Yeah, indeed. I do too. Welcome to season 3, episode 121 of the Focus LBK show. I know everybody here has been seeing all this crazy stuff that's going on in the nation. You've been seeing all this tragic stuff that's been going on in the nation. Well, I feel like when you see that stuff on TV and when they repeat it on TV, looping it over and over again, dissecting every angle of it on YouTube, all on your phone, MSNBC and CNN and Fox, all media forms are designed to make you do something. They want to make you think or feel a certain way so that you do something. And like I say, I don't think we ever sit down to question who does that. Who is making that so? That's not an accident. In other words, that ain't no accident that TV media is all media, mass media is what I should say. Mass media is designed to do that. It's the point of it. Everything you see puts you into a receptive mode where you are told how to think and feel about something and what you should do about something. That's what commercials do, right? Everything you see on media is a commercial in a way because the medium is the message, as they say. It's designed, the medium itself, social media coming through screens at you, that stuff is designed to program you. It's the way the light shines, all that stuff. There's studies on this stuff. Look it up. But when I'm looking around and I see all this negative stuff, it reminds me of a few weeks ago. We for right before New Year's. The service before New Year's, or it might have been, it was the 11th. That's what it was. At my church, I go to Glad Tidings Church over there off 50th and Q, and one of our pastors was talking about we started doing the Daniel fast. Y'all heard of that? Yeah. So the Daniel fast is like, you eat fruits and grains and stuff like that. And I'm already doing a different approach on that, but my family is pretty much following that. And one of our pastors, the pastor's wife, was saying she think we ought to fast off of social media to help focus our spiritual lives in on why we're fasting physically. Why are we fasting? Well, if you take a break off social media, you can focus and get some understanding. And that's probably true. That's probably real true. And I was thinking about that. And I said, you know what? Matter of fact, I think I'm going to go a little different direction on my fast. I'm already changing my eating style in a way that I don't want to get into that. But I said on my fast, what I'm finna do, I'm fixing to do a political party fast. I'm finna take a fast off of political parties for a while. And the reason I say that, because like I say, all they do, in my opinion, is cause trouble. They causing trouble like that lady that got run over by ICE up there. You have to ask yourself, why would a middle-aged woman leave her own family? She lost her 2 kids, as I understand it, and she had 1 kid left in her custody. But for some reason, instead of handling her responsibilities, she was out in the streets, blocking federal agents from doing a lawfully appointed job. I mean, why would you? What would make you leave your family and go worry about somebody else's family that ain't even related to you? You fighting against boogeyman. You tilting at windmills against somebody's family ain't even related to you while you got your own family over here. What would cause you to do that? What force, what powerful, irresistible force would cause her to do that? This is what the question that we have. This is a question I have. And I was thinking about it, and I say, see, there are powerful forces. Some might say it's a demonic source or force. Some might say it's a righteous force. But like I say, we don't ever seem to ask where it's coming from. And like I say, I think it's coming from political parties. Political parties are exerting enough force on us to make a woman with a child, probably an adult child, but still she has responsibilities that she's supposed to be taking care of with a family. And instead of doing that, she's running around with her girlfriend trying to do what? You see how weird that is? What are you trying to do? What would make her do that? It seemed like it had to be a force. That force must be political parties, because it could be spiritual too, though. And we'll see that, because we're going to get into talking about how when I was thinking about abandoning the political parties or fasting from them, I realized I read somewhere that the founding fathers hated political parties. They abhorred them. They couldn't get away from a political party fast enough. And I was like, I wonder why. I forget why. I read this somewhere before, decades ago. So I went and refreshed my memory on it. And it turns out that one of the main reasons the founding fathers were afraid of political parties, they didn't call them parties, they called them factions. Sometimes they called them parties, but they mostly called them factions, political factions. You got the red faction and the blue faction. Ain't that a video game or something? Interesting. Anyway, they used to call factions parties, right? Parties factions. And George Washington, y'all know I think he was in there twice, but then when he was getting ready to step down, he gave, in his farewell address, he gave a little quote on factions, a little spiel, and he said, check this out. His farewell address, he warns about the divisive influence of factions, saying, the common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of party are sufficient to make the interest and duty of a wise people to discourage it and restrain it. Y'all, I don't know if y'all caught that. I'm gonna say it again. He say, the common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of a party, the spirit of party, are sufficient to make it the interest and duty of a wise people to discourage and restrain it. George Washington is saying there is some kind of spirit that gets involved in political parties when masses of people group together and move in the same direction. You get a spirit. They are inspired. That's where the word inspired comes from. Inspired. They breathe the spirit in. Conspire. They breathe the same spirit together. But George Washington warned us and said, it is something about political parties, the spirit of parties. He calls it the spirit of parties, that basically, infests people's minds like a demonic infestation and make them do crazy things, is what he's saying. That's why he hated political parties. See, people don't realize, if you go back and look at a little bit before George Washington family and them came over here, they was in Britain. The reason they fled Britain is because there were civil wars, horrible civil wars, multiple civil wars. And it was all caused by political parties, or political factions as they called them. George Washington was like, no, when we got to this new place, I had already fled my homeland, running from some crazy stuff. I get over here, we start a new land over here, start a new government. We can't let the same factions come over here. It's going to be the same type of factions. They're going to call it different names, but it's the same opposing spirits. So we can't let them parties, them factions come over here and get started in the United States. That's basically what he was saying. So that's why he said when he left office, he said, watch out for the spirit of party. Because the spirit of party, it's basically he's saying it's a terrible, destructive force, and we got to do everything you can to hold it back. And when I read that, I think about the spirit of the crowd. Have y'all ever heard of that? The Madness of Crowds is a book called The Madness of Crowds. Government people that study this stuff, usually employed in some way by the government or some ruling apparatus. Those people know all about how people behave in masses and groups. That's why they like to divide you into masses and groups. They like to divide you into easily manageable pools whose strings they can pull. They know how to make this group feel good. They know how to make them feel angry. They know how to make this group feel good. They know how to make them feel angry. They know how to make this group want to accept foreigners. They know how to make this group want to reject foreigners. They know the inner workings of mankind, really. And I'm not saying they're undefeatable or that they're masters at it. But they're people who study this for a living so they can rule us. So I don't know. To me, I would say, well, I'll tell you what Thomas Jefferson said before I say it. Yeah, everybody know old Thomas Jefferson. What did he say? Thomas Jefferson said, I am no believer in the amalgamation of parties, nor do I consider it as either desirable or useful for the public, but only that, like religious differences, a difference in politics should never be permitted to enter into social intercourse or to disturb friendships, its charities, or justice. Y'all heard that? Thomas Jefferson, boy, that's he be slanging that pen. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Jefferson say, I am no believer in the amalgamation of parties, nor do I consider it as either desirable or useful for the public, but only that, like religious differences, a difference in politics should never be permitted to enter into social intercourse or to disturb its friendships, its charities, or its justice. Thomas Jefferson himself is saying, yo, I ain't never been down with having no political parties. And I think when it comes to politics and stuff like that, you should never let that divide you from people you love and from your neighbors and your friends and your society. You should not let politics disturb how you give to charity, and you dang sure shouldn't let politics change how you see justice. That's what Thomas Jefferson said. You talking about a coexist bumper sticker. That's from one of the evil white founding fathers, but he just summed up what coexist people be saying, but rarely be doing, I might add. Yeah. Coexist people seem like they the hardest people to coexist with. I don't know if they understand, but y'all get where I'm going though. We talking about the founding fathers' extreme negative views of political parties, or factions as they call them. George Washington said it was like a spirit. He called it the spirit of parties, the spirit of parties. Thomas Jefferson said he ain't never been down with no political parties, and he said it's not even desirable or useful for the public. Having political parties, Thomas Jefferson say, yo, that's not even good for us. He said, but if you have political differences with somebody, be cool with them. If you like them, be cool with them. You don't even know the person if you let your political differences divide you. That's the danger of parties. Basically, what they're saying is parties eventually and always throughout history devolve into basically little warring gangs, little warring entities that have lives of their own, because man dissolves in the crowd. That's why collectivists like that. Collectivists like you to dissolve into the crowd because they can control crowds. They know how to control crowds. The individual is hard to control. The individual, controlling an individual, 320 million or 350 million individuals, that's like herding 350 million cats. It can't be done. You know what I'm saying? It cannot be done. But if you can get a herd of sheep and make them all go where the sheepdog go, or go where this sheepdog go, You can manage that. See how that work? That's what all this negativity is about. It's these political parties clashing, using us as foot soldiers. Same way they did in Nazi Germany, same way they did in France and revolutionary France during the Reign of Terror. You have political parties, and each political party has its own street foot soldiers that go out in the streets and ride and break windows and, run over ICE agents with their cars. This stuff has echoed throughout history. And it's always the result. It's not the result of regular people like me and you actually being mad at each other. We live next door to each other. Our kids go to school together. We be at the club together sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We do everything it is to do in life together, but that's why they can't have that. They can't. How can you make people do something against their will if they kind of cool with each other and in tune with each other and just hustling and doing what's right for their family? They're not even worried about what you're trying to tell them. But if you put them in political parties, you can eventually get them to compact into these little gangs, basically like Crips and Bloods. Y'all ever notice everything is always one versus the other, and it's almost always red versus blue? I don't know. Sometimes I look at that and say, could it be that's just a symbol or a sign that truly illustrates the fact that political parties are used to rule us, and there's two of them for a reason, because you can play them back and forth against each other. How is it in the land of the birthplace of modern democracy we only got two political parties? There's countries around the world with 50 political parties. I don't know about 50, but a lot. Y'all see what I'm saying, though? That's why I feel like it's a stage show that's being managed, and political parties are one of the many vehicles that pull strings, or one of the many power centers that pull strings. And political parties ain't nothing but collections of groups of people who have been bought and paid for by somebody other than you. None of these political parties care about you. They don't like you. They don't like me neither. You know what I'm saying? We're common ants to them. Well, the peasants, pissants. The word pissant and the word peasant is probably variations of it. I was just thinking. Anyway, they don't see no difference between us pissants. They just see us as being peasants to be trodden upon. They make one group make they peasants feel like they real moral, and they have to go around judging everybody and smashing something because of all this historical unfairness. That just destroys society. Good job. The other group, they make people cling to old ways excessively, so they can form a rebuttal against the people that's seeking to change everything. So they want to compact you into a gang that wants to remain the same. You might call them conservatives. You still being played. You still being compacted into a gang of some sort by your own so-called political party that you give all your energy and stuff to help. And get this, all your tax money, and money is just energy. All money is a physical representation of energy you have expended in the past. They vampires. They siphon off of our strength, our money, our time, everything, our spirit. And they make us do what they want by, I think, controlling what we see, controlling what we eat. Y'all heard about Maha. They saying the whole food pyramid is wrong, which, by the way, everybody, that's about 20 years people have known that or more. It just take that long to go up the steps and get somebody in power to be able to try to do something. So I guess the point I'm making here is, folks, political parties are one of the vehicles through which we get played, is what I'm trying to say to you. Here in Lubbock, I was just telling somebody earlier today, we're like an island here in LBK. We need each other we actually have to coexist out here. We all we got. And because of that, we're real neighborly. Everybody like to have their own space and be left alone, but at the same time, everybody out here is neighborly and cool. And that's one of the things I like about us. And I don't want to see us get played by these fools on the media so we can be compacted into warring little factions, fighting ideas that ain't even our own, or fighting for ideas that ain't even our own. We just stuff somebody done told us to mess with. So we get upset. Are you out in the street doing anything with law enforcement to stop or block them from doing their mission for people you don't know in a situation you ain't involved with? How would you, what would make you, see what I'm saying? That's why I say that got to be a power out there, some sort of Powers and principalities. Well, that's what it is out there. Because that's what George Washington said. The spirit of party wreaks havoc. Man, you know what, LBK? I think, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying this new format, and I'm trying to do some new and better things here. I don't know. Let me know how this episode went. I felt like I started off a little rough, and I felt like I came back and I solidified there toward the end, and then here we are. I'm closing rather abruptly, but guess what? I think it was a good conversation. I think it was a good presentation, and I appreciate y'all for listening. But let me know down in the comments if you think if you found something here that you liked or you didn't like. Especially let me know if you didn't like it. I'm trying to fix it if it's fixable. Anyway, LBK, Robert Jenkins here, signing off for the Focus LBK show. Peace.